Lethal Lava Land's lack of lethality, but legal. Yeah, I can't even do it anymore.
No.
Failure.
We're getting old.
Did you
I gave it a shot and it didn't work.
did you
can't
do that
afford to
during
be
our original
alliterative.
commentary?
No,
Yeah.
but the last couple, I did a couple lava levels where I did a lot of L's for it. So
We've always had a alliterative title for like the lava levels for earlier Mario commentaries.
Actual alliteration avoided annoyingly.
Your interaction with the lava is about as graceful as your alliteration, Ryan. I'm gonna say, the platform just yeeting itself out from under your feet was especially amazing. Oh boy.
bullies.
What
I actually
mission
don't-
are
I
you
actually-
doing here?
100 coin. And then into the volcano.
I love how experimental, I love it in massive sarcastic air quotes, how experimental Super Mario 64's enemy interactions are, where half the enemies are designed to just test out how enemies should be in 3D.
I mean,
Yeah,
to be fair,
notice Mario, charge after Mario.
I do prefer these bully designs compared to their 3D World designs. As simple as these are,
Well, I mean, what did they do for 3D World?
they were like the tin can helmet design things.
and I don't even remember that at
Well,
all.
Yeah,
which
I
guess
don't really
just
remember it either.
kind of
I'm
adds
not
the
even
argument.
talking about their physical appearance. I just mean the way you interact with them. Like they're clearly still trying to figure out how enemies should work in a 3D space. So it's like, yeah, we can't have you hopping on enemies anymore because that's a little clunky in
Hard.
3D.
Yeah, it's a little hard to do.
So they've got, okay, here's an enemy that you're supposed to like kick in the face and push off a ledge, and here's Bowser who you're supposed to throw, and then
That's kind of it.
yeah, like they're trying to figure out alternative ways for you to interact. And
I mean, I think that they did. I mean, this is obviously many, many years later, but I think that Mario Galaxy did a really good job at differentiating different ways to deal with enemies, because you had the really easy way to do it, which is the spin attack, and if you do that, you get star bits, which you know are nice.
And but then you can always just quickly hop a Goomba or whatever, and it'll
Which gets you
and
a
it'll pop you a coin, which at that point in the series was also a health bonus. So you could opt for a slightly trickier way to kill an enemy and get some health back as a reward.
Yeah.
Slightly trickier because you also had their home and ground pound. So
You don't know about
If you
that
knew
when you're
about
5
it.
years old, though, John.
no, but if you do, then it makes it a non-issue.
I mean, granted, yes.
The homing ground pound was sort of a thing the game never told you about, wasn't it?
To my knowledge, no.
Yeah.
Maybe there's like a Toad or someone in the
hub world that might
hub
tell
world
you,
that might
but-
tell you. I don't really remember. The
The only
same
I know
thing
the
for
only thing I ever got from Toe is waiting for my Princess Peach letter. I got Prime delivery and it's still not here.
There's also the thing for the what is it called? The Cosmic Mario Race, where you can get a speed boost if you do like a Mario Kart style turbo charge up or whatever, which I
Yeah.
never knew about when I was a kid. So
Man,
you know.
I'm gonna say it. I love Lethal Lava Land's design. It's a really fun level to traverse, navigationally speaking, but fuck the aesthetic.
This level has aged probably the worst of any Mario 64 level, regardless of the construction's quality. Like,
It's the floor is lava. That's it.
The
Yeah,
floor
but
is lava, the sky is lava, and the ground is gray.
it feels the most empty out of anything here.
Well, but then you get into the volcano here, and
No, are we just talking collectively?
like
as a whole in Mario 64?
good. I like this part of the level. This is nice looking. Different parts of the floor have different textures. There's a cave wall. There's lava down below. This is a pretty epic and, dare I say again, adventure-y segment of the level. But like the exterior, the large wide open part of Lethal Lava Land is like half a step away from Bubsy 3D. So yeah.
Still better though, has actual texture.
Yes, I will give
are
it
you
that
saying
much.
that checkerboards aren't a texture, John? Shake my head.
Well, no, because the level textures in Bubsy 3D were flat colors all around.
Yeah, that's not a texture.
Yeah, so I mean, I mean, part of it is that like the more
Wait. Hold on. When you go back to
Yeah, it starts you if you die in a sub area in a level, when you go back in, it starts you in that sub area.
Well, yeah,
What?
the game makes that Ow.
That's consistent through the entire game.
The game makes that concession.
I'm very happy about that, because one of my least favorite things in Mario 64 is, you know, when you die doing the 100 coin mission or the 8 red coin mission, you have to do the whole thing all over again, which is annoying and dumb and bad.
Okay, that's actually not strictly true. I think there's like 1 or 2 spots it doesn't, but that's for like super small areas.
The game makes that concession for you, mainly because if it didn't, you almost walked into that a second time, Ryan. I'm disappointed in you.
Well, the first time I jumped over it like a boss, so.
Yeah, but then the second time you got smushed like a chump. And then you almost got smushed like a chump again. It's almost like you've zoned out or not paying attention.
People are asking us, like, when is John going to do what Ryan did wrong? I was like, oh, man, I don't care.
But like, okay.
It's also Shindo version, so you can't do that for some things.
No, I don't care about the speedrunning. We're just talking about Ryan getting smushed like by the block like a chump and falling off the fucking volcano
You
again.
really have...
Oh, nice save, though.
Oh, yeah, very intentional butt bounce onto flying platform save.
To be fair, you can't do that to skip the first elevator in this section.
Hell, if you wanted to, I think in any version of the game, you can aim Mario after he gets burned in the ass up the lava fall.
Yeah, you can.
And get to the star that way. You gotta have full health to make it, though.
You also have to be very precise.
Yeah. Don't do that.
So, like, the limited camera does make it a little difficult to navigate those shimmying poles. I mean, nowadays in 2020, shimmying poles in a platformer type game, they're old hat. We all know how to do them. They don't really present any challenge. Most games have it so that no matter what direction you're facing, when you jump off the pole, you'll jump in the direction that you push the analog stick. So it's not even really a thing. But in Mario 64, those goddamn poles are...
Alright, well, Mario 64 poles versus the icicles and ice cap in Sonic Adventure 1. I would argue Sonic Adventure is worse because the camera is fixed and it is very awkward.
I would say depth
position
perception
Sonic.
is worse in Sonic Adventure. Yeah.
I would say it's not as hard to do in Sonic Adventure, though, because the only thing you really need to ever do is shimmy around to the exact opposite place from where you started. Whereas this has these zigzag patterns of poles right here.
I've had many, granted, 64 gave me some similar shit, but I've had many a times in Sonic Adventure's Ice Cap where, okay, it looks like
also,
I'm perfectly...
the icicles are a lot thicker and have bigger hitboxes.
Yeah. But you're aiming Sonic to the next icicle with a fixed camera that you can't turn. Yeah,
but
and that, I feel that made it really awkward.
If you're even slightly off in 64, you have a tendency to miss the pole entirely. Whereas in Sonic Adventure, you don't really have to shoot for super precision to make the jump. If you're facing the icicle on the other side vaguely and like just in that direction, if you're facing vaguely in that direction, you'll hit the thing and stick to it. On the other hand, you know, in Sonic Adventure, you don't have to chase rabbits
Sonic Unleashed to get pole climbing right in 3D platformers. I didn't even see you grab the bunny.
Well, I got him.
Well, I mean, pole climbing in 3D platformers was something that didn't really start to work until Prince of Persia, not Prince of Persia 3D. That's a completely different game. Sands of Time. There is a Prince of Persia 3D. It's terrible.
It's almost like there's only two Prince of Persia games really worth talking about: the original and Sands of Time.
Well,
I know there are other games that range from okay to pretty good, but they're just not super interesting.
The other games in the respective trilogies are worth playing, just not really worth talking about because their chief qualities is they're generally the same thing that the first game in the trilogy did, but more of it. So, you know,
and often not as good.
So I had a friend in in high school who played a lot of the Prince of Persia games, and he told me a lot about them. And so I know generally why people like Prince of Persia Sands of Time a lot, but from what he explained to me, Warrior Within kind of sounds pretty cool. Like, I've never played it, so this is coming.
The problem
all
with
from
Warrior
hearsay.
Within is that it's much more focused on combat, and the combat isn't super good.
It's more. It's not so much that it's more focused on combat. What it did was it tried to intersperse the combat more amongst the platforming, whereas Sands of Time had very distinct, separate combat segments in its areas where you'll walk into a room, there's a bunch of enemies to fight all at once, and you defeat all the enemies there, and then you move on, and it's a platforming section until you get to the next combat area. Whereas in in Warrior Within, you are more likely to run into like a single enemy or two enemies on their own in the middle of a platforming area.
And that really breaks up the flow of the platforming area.
Two Thrones did a lot of what Warrior Within tried to do, but paced it better overall throughout the game. So that's, I would say, if Warrior Within sounds interesting to you, then the game you should really be interested in is Two Thrones.
Yeah, well, he said a lot of things like, throughout the game, there's this monster that's always chasing you.
Oh,
and it
yeah.
could pop up kind of like Nemesis in Resident Evil. And that seemed cool to me. Like,
I
don't know.
I wouldn't say it's done nearly as well as Nemesis and Resident Evil, but yeah, there is that. Oh, what was it called? Okay, because you fucked up the timeline in the first game, the universe gets angry at you and sends this monster after you to kill you for fucking up the timeline. It's supposed to protect history, and by the end of the game, you gain the means to trick it and destroy it. And in doing so, you're able to change history again, and that leads to the fucking disaster in the third game, where they actually do something really clever with the fact that that Sands of Time retconned itself out of existence at the end.
Yeah, I really should just play those games.
I'll get to the remake when it comes out.
Yeah, they are remaking. When is that remake coming out? By
March.
The way? March? Okay. You know what? I probably should get that, I think.
I hope they remake the entire Sands of Time trilogy, though, because I feel like at this point in time, now that we're in the PS4, PS5 era of gaming where you can actually do realistic-looking things and have it not look butt ugly, those two games would benefit a lot from a remake. Because
to be fair, I don't think Sands of Time was going for super realistic as far as the characters were concerned.
But they were going for more of you just don't give any fucks, do you?
No. There's a red coin right here that'll heal me.
I know. But like okay, the Sands of Time sequels went for a more adult-looking look and feel, whereas Sands of Time had that more Western cartoon movie, Titan AE sort of. It was kind of
going for Prince of Egypt. It was going for Prince of Egypt.
Yeah,
honestly.
like a Don Bluth cartoon, that kind of thing. I did get his name right, didn't I? I'm so bad with celebrities. Yeah, Don Bluth. Those kind of that kind of visual style. Anastasia.
And I think it worked really well for that.
Titan AE. Yeah, it worked really well. It was the same kind of style that Beyond Good and Evil used.
Yeah, because I never really considered Prince of Persia: Sands of Time to look like a kid's game, but it definitely had a very whimsical isn't even the right word either, but
fantastical, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the environments were mostly realistic. It was just a character,
and it did that because the graphics, the graphics and the engine that they were using weren't especially amazing on their own merits. They had to make up some of the distance with artistic direction, but then, well, they just go to Warrior Within, and it's like, they want their game to look like.
They want it to be dark and edgy.
Yeah, so they make the characters a lot more realistic looking and realistically proportioned in every aspect. And
it doesn't work.
Yeah, and the result is that you can really see the shortfalls of the graphical engine that they're working with now. Shortfalls that were always there, but the impact of them on your conscious awareness during the game was blunted quite a lot in Sands of Time. Just by the fact that everything looks slicker and smoother in a cartoon-ish style.
I'm just glad that the PS4 is basically our PS1 redo machine.
Yeah. But Prince of Persia Forgotten Sands, in both of its incarnations, both the Wii version and the next-gen version, and that is an important distinction because they're two completely different games with completely different stories, they look amazing, and they are going for the same kind of realistic style that Warrior Within and Two Thrones did. So it really was just where the graphics were at the time that made the style not quite work. In fact, Forgotten Sands is practically like a preview of what playing the Sands of Time remake will probably be like, because it really is just Sands of Time 2.0 in PlayStation 3 vision.
I do think also, generally speaking, the gamers of today just have a more varied acceptance palette and accept different art styles a little bit more. Because I think in that PS2 era, people really just wanted games to look one way. You know?
Yeah.
Well, again, it was because we finally could quote unquote for the first time
sort
ever,
of, yeah,
so.
in the same way that Sonic Adventure could do a water monster.
Yeah, it's like we were so used to games looking cartoony because it was the only way you could portray things correctly in sprite form, really, and especially in early 3D.
Yeah, I mean,
so the fact that you could quote unquote do realistic graphics at the time and have it not look like complete and utter garbage or a laughable attempt at it was kind of just the hip new thing at the time.
In the PlayStation 1 era, there were games that tried to have a more like realistically proportioned art style, but like I think like the only one that really stuck the landing was probably Tomb Raider, and even that only in the later incarnations.
Not even the not even the first.
Yeah,
game.
like Tomb Raider 2 onward did it.
Yeah, two is actually still a really good looking PS1 game.
Yeah, it actually kind of is, I'd say.
You know, as much as I would make fun of like the bobbling heads in both Tomb Raider and Metal Gear Solid, I would still say Metal Gear Solid is still a good looking PS1 game.
I think it holds up a lot better than something like Resident Evil does, for example.
Resident Evil 1, no. 2 still looks really good.
I'm not really familiar with how 2 looks, so
Resident Evil 2,
Oh my god, I just realized, sorry, sidetrack. They bring these guys back in Mario Galaxy, except they don't have their faces spray painted on anymore.
Yeah, they're both tox boxes.
Resident Evil 2 and 3 are an interesting case, though, because since they did pre-rendered backgrounds, they had a lot more resources to spare for 3D objects. So what few objects they had on screen could be like ludicrously detailed by PlayStation 1 standards. And you see that in various forms in other games, like Echo Knight. The environments in that game are freaking amazing even today. Like, yeah, they're low res and PlayStation 1-ish, but you can see quite a lot going on there. You guys don't know what game I'm talking about, do you?
Not a clue.
It's a FromSoft game. They did some first-person horror games.
Oh, is that the first person? I was gonna say, is that the first person like dungeon game they did?
It's not a dungeon game. It's a first-person adventure horror game. Like you go around talking to ghosts and solving their problems while trying to solve the mystery of the main plot. And the first game takes place on this ghost ship that went missing, and everyone on the ship died. You find your way to the ship somehow. I forget. And
yeah, but is it brutally hard?
Yeah, you have what?
Is it brutally hard? That's all anyone cares about for FromSoft these days.
Is it? I mean, the first Dark Souls game, Crash Bandicoot, premiered on the PlayStation 1.
I haven't had a chance to play much Echo Knight. I want to get into it, but I haven't had the time. It's on PSN though, if you got a PS3, so I recommend it. It's fun. Nitro Rad's review was what introduced me to that series. But it's one of those series that like half the games haven't even come out in the West, I think.
Unsurprising considering the topic and genre they're in.
Yeah, but you know, it's one of the good examples of that genre, so go for it. But my point is that because of the way the game limits how much is on screen at one time, it could do some pretty goddamn nice things with environment detail. And in Resident Evil's case, it does the same thing with character models and stuff, except, you know, pretty much the opposite. Let's see.
It's still the desert level. You can keep talking about PS1 games.
Yeah.
I mean, just as an aside, one thing I would regularly do with the DS version of this game is I would come into this level as Wario and pretend I was playing a Wario Land game.
Man.
Yeah, because they made it so that you needed Wario for
some things, yeah.
Certain things, because he was the only one that could break the black boxes.
Yeah.
I think Wario, they need to try a 3D Wario game again. Wario World is fine. It has some issues, but,
they need to just make a Wario Land game in general again.
All the games to bring back that gimmick from Donkey Kong 64, why Mario 64? Like I don't like that aspect of Super Mario 64 DS. I really don't.
Well, I don't think anybody did. Like everybody's down with like playing as multiple characters. Like, it's like, oh, I think I'll finish this level as Wario, or I think I'll play as Luigi this time. But that's not the case. It's more like, oh no, you need Wario for this because he's the only one that can do this. Yeah, I didn't like how they separated
the
power-ups for different characters too. Like, I think you could only be Metal Wario.
Yeah, and Luigi was the one who could become invisible.
Why on earth would they limit Metal to Wario when Metal Mario is such an iconic thing?
So much so that Mario is basically his own character at this point.
That's so bizarre to me. Like,
also, he was basically the final boss of Smash 64.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
let's be real here. Everyone had way more problems with him than Master Hand.
I would say
he's a pain in the ass, though, but his music is so good.
Why did that stage never come back? It's so good.
It's so small.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I don't like about it.
But yeah, I mean, at least they brought back the music for Ultimate. So
okay, hot take here. Smash 64 has the best original music in the franchise.
In the franchise?
Yeah.
As in, you're just talking about like the tracks that
the original Smash Brothers only.
You mean the original Super? Okay, so
not in terms of like remixes, but like the best.
Oh, you mean like
Smash
the menu themes and the like break the targets and all that?
I can agree with that. I can agree with that. It kind of feels like after Melee, they started trying to have epic sounding soundtracks for the for the Smash Brothers games. And
I would say Brawl. Brawl's the best one.
No, I'd say Melee. I'd say Melee 64, and then
Brawl is the epitome of what I was just thinking about. How they're trying to make Smash Brothers sound epic and orchestral. And it's like, why is that the direction you're going for with this series? I don't get it.
Because it's an epic crossover.
But they're trying to make this series that was basically about a disembodied hand playing with his action figures and turn it into Final Fantasy.
And in your mind, as you're playing with these action figures, you probably got the John Williams score going on in your head.
Oh, as a kid, I was not good enough at remembering music to have the John Williams score going in my head. It would be this off-key, horrible, out-of-tune version of the John Williams score going on in my head.
Yeah, which is basically the Super Smash Brothers Brawl theme. Hi-oh! Just kidding.
We'll see you in the next part of Super Mario 64.
So uncultured.